Hey there, Kunal. Thanks for submitting a video coaching review, and thank you for letting me use this as content on my channel. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And I think that other people benefit from this because many people struggle with the same issues that you're struggling with. So thanks again for letting me use this as content on my channel. And if you're unfamiliar with what a video coaching review is, in case you're new here and you haven't seen one of these before, essentially what I do is I sit down like this in front of my computer and I review whatever information somebody sends me in an email, and then I review their actual form video and give them critiques along the way. So if you're interested in one of these, you can head to my website, jkaminski.com. There'll be links in the description below on where you can check those out. So anyway, I'll get right to it, and thank you again to Kunal for this. So let's see, I'm going to go through the email first, and then we'll cover the video of him shooting and go from there. So let's see here. You are a 21-year-old recurve archer. You've been training with a recurve part-time since 2017 and full-time since 2022. You aim to compete at the highest levels of the sport and win, and you train at a volume of 1,500 to 1,800 arrows a week. Great. That's a good volume of arrows. Roughly in that range of amount of arrows shot per week is enough to put you near the top. Or at least keep you near the top. And to get there, doing a little bit of extra work sometimes is needed. At the absolute highest end of the sport, it really, really requires a lot of arrows. And this is a good, really, really good starting point. So as long as you're not having any sort of injuries or anything like that, this is great. Use a mental program for your shot as described with Winning in Mind by Lanny. That's great. You can shoot scores ranging from a 320 to a 330 out of a 360 at 70 meters on a 122 centimeter face, which is pretty good. Not too bad there. You've competed in national and state level competitions with your PB being a 642 out of 720. And you do 30 minutes of guided visualization for archery and shoot 100 perfect shots in the mindset as part of your mental training. I'm assuming you do that in a week, I'm guessing. I'm not sure. Possibly. You keep a performance analysis journal, which is also updated daily. That's excellent. Your equipment is a Hoyt Epic 25-inch Win-and-Win NO-EX primes, medium 38s. You're looking to go to WeWiz NSXP longs 40s. Okay. Your draw length's 29. Yeah, stuff at 29 inches, you're definitely going to need a 70-inch bow. So I'm glad to see that you're upgrading to long limbs. Really, really important. At that type of draw length, 29 inches, you're really starting to look at needing long limbs for forgiveness purposes as well as comfort on the fingers. You use X10s 450s for competition. You shoot HMC plus stabilizers, long rods 28-inch, side rods 12-inch, 8 ounces on the front, 8 ounces on the back on both sides combined. Okay, so a fairly typical stabilizer setup, maybe a little bit heavier on the long rod than what I would say is average. I can't see the long rod just to see what it looks like. All right, so it looks just like a standard stabilizer here. Use a Shibuya Ultimate RC and a Shibuya Rest with the biter. Good. Questions for this review. How do you get your score to 340 to 350 range at 70? Years of practice. That's a very complicated question to answer despite it seeming very simple. High level of attention to detail that not just relates to your actual shot process, but also your equipment, your mental status, and all sorts of other things, as well as consistent training, really. To get to 340 at 70, you've got to shoot, so on average, if you shoot a 57 every end, you shoot a 342 out of 360. So you have to shoot 310s and 39s basically at minimum every single end. So you're looking at a very high level of proficiency that's required. So that's where really being in tune with everything that's going on in your shot is super, super important. And really paying attention to your equipment is very, very important as well. So you're really, to be at that level is, it's difficult because to be at a highest level, to say win world championships, to win the Olympic Games, even to just to medal, and sometimes even just to make an Olympic team for a certain country, depending on where you're from, because certain places have really high levels of competition to get there. You're looking at 10 years of consistent training or 10,000 hours of really deep learning and deep training. One thing that I would recommend, even though you've already read With Winning in Mind, that's a great one to start with. I would also check out The Talent Code. It's a really good book. You can get it for free on Audible. If you don't have Audible yet, it's available for free there. You can also purchase it. I'll include a link in the email that I sent to you, Kunal. But the idea there is basically what it takes to be an expert at something. They've kind of laid out a blueprint on how to actually be an expert and what it takes. And that 10,000 hours or 10-year rule it's a rule or a saying for a reason. So, getting to the level that you're already at is really good. That's due to high volumes of shooting. But from there, you really need to start tweaking technique. Really making sure you're applying the mental management system there from With Winning in Mind, and obviously just staying up on everything that you possibly can, taking care of your equipment, making sure that's all up to snuff, and really taking care of every tiny little detail to make sure you don't miss anything. That's absolutely required to get over that 345 range and into the 350 range. I mean, you're looking at a lot of things needing to happen. Especially at a tournament, you're really needing also not just all the training to add up, but the stars to align for you to really hit that level in a competition. It's a high level, a high bar to reach. What's my feedback on your shooting? We'll get there. I haven't seen it yet. What aspects are good? What should you work on better? We'll get to that. Your competition season starts in the 10th of October, so you're looking to figure out how to schedule your training for that. How many arrows should you shoot on a weekly basis? Honestly, as far as the actual competition training schedule, you have to decide what's important at this point, right? So the idea, and it can be very difficult, obviously, because as you get onto the national team or the national circuit, you get benefits, and you only get there by shooting well at a certain few competitions. But maybe the main goal is to make an Olympic team or to win world championships or something like that in the future. So you ultimately have to choose and decide what is most important or most valuable to stay focused on at a given time. So if you're going to focus on something such as making an Olympic team, well, you have 3 years essentially to prepare from this date in 2024, August of 2024, because I would imagine trials start in about 3 years or so, or potentially 4 years from now, or just under that. So you're looking at a long-term process there, and you really have to stay focused on that. And I would do that because that's what I've done in the past. But I was doing that from already being on the national circuit. So I was able to basically make decisions that would set me in the right path for the long term. But if you're still trying to also get onto the national circuit first in order to move up the mark, then what you need to do is also strategically try to peak at those events too. So taking care of your gear more, making sure you're getting good recovery, and potentially lowering volume of shooting right before a very particularly important event, such as like a national selection shoot, a nationals, or something like that. So you have to make that decision, and I don't know the circuit where you're from. I don't know how it works. But for me, like, I would be basically just training through, just shooting as much as you can. 15 to 1,800 arrows a week is a really good starting point. If you can maintain that, that would be excellent. Something at that level, you could really start to add in what's called periodization, training to peak at a given time frame, and you can do that with a cyclical, a purposeful ramping up and down of volume of intensity of arrows to essentially produce a peak. So if you haven't seen my video on periodization where I touch on that, you should check it out. And if you haven't read Training for Archery, a book that my wife and I wrote, I really would consider that one, because I go into periodization, how to apply it to archery, and then also all of the other important details to get you there, like, upping the level of training difficulty and things like that to make it more challenging for you so the body adapts and gets better over time. It's hard. So, as far as how should you schedule your training for that, I would just continue to train through it, because you're just full-time shooting since 2022, so 2 years now. I mean, you're getting there, but it takes a long time to be at a world-class level and to be able to be at that world-class level for a long period of time. and it just takes time. So you just keep going. There's no way to stop, no option to stop sometimes. And I've been to World Cups, shot the ranking round, then went to the practice range and shot 300 more arrows after that ranking round, because I had a more important event coming up later in the year that I really needed to peak and perform at, the Olympic trials, and that was way more important than the World Cups for me. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's a difficult question again. Let's see. You plan to go to Coach Kim Young Tak's archery school in Korea for 2 weeks. That's a good idea. Should you follow through with this decision? What are my views on this regarding how you shoot and your goals, and will it be beneficial for you? I think anytime anybody can get any experience with the Koreans and how they shoot, seeing the volume of arrows they train, seeing how hard they actually work to shoot at the levels that they shoot at, will make people really appreciate how different their system is and be able to take that back with them back home. Sometimes it can be very motivating to people. Sometimes it can be very, very difficult. So you just have to have a healthy relationship with that understanding and make a choice from there. But I think it's always a good idea to get experience and to be exposed to many other people, because I'm going to give you opinions here on your form, and he'll give you opinions on your form as well. And my opinions may differ than his. That's totally cool. Ultimately, what you need to do is find the thing that works best for you. There's a million different ways to shoot. Each one of those has the potential to actually win, but not every form, style, opinion, or technique is good for every person, right? So you got to find that thing that works best for you, in my opinion. How should you weight train during competition season? For me, I train 2 days a week in competition season and 3 days a week off competition. I would do Monday, Wednesday, Friday off season, and I would do Monday, Wednesday in competition. So that way I had plenty of time to recover by the time the weekend rolled around, which was the actual tournament itself. So my goal was to always continue strength training and potentially reduce the actual weight load. So not going for super, super heavy lifts, but continuing to up the volume. So instead of it being like a 3x8, 3 sets of 8, I would do 4 sets of 10 or something like that. So it's essentially forcing me to lower the overall weight and really focusing on range of motion and not necessarily super high levels of intense training sessions. Let's see. As an archer, how do you cultivate yourself? Hold on one second. Sorry about that. I had to take a phone call. Sorry. Let me see. Let's see here. How far? Oh yeah, the weight training. Yeah. So yeah, I think we already finished that. Excuse me. As an archer, how do you cultivate your self-image of being a professional and a champion who can shoot high scores? Well, you definitely start with this right here, signing off by saying future Olympic and world champion. Obviously sometimes you do that on your own, do it for other people as well, which is excellent. But you have to talk to yourself, not as a future Olympic and world champion. You have to talk to yourself as if you are an Olympic and world champion, because you will change your habits to morph around that idea. There's a very big difference between being willing to go to be one and acting as if you already are one. It can really form really, really good, important habits once you decide to make that change. So as far as cultivating your self-image, you've got to really do what you can to make things as positive as possible all the time. So you've already started with winning in mind, right? So you understand probably what the self-image is, the third circle, right? Subconscious, conscious, and self-image. You've got to get all three of those things to be in balance and to be as big as possible. You will only compete as strong as your weakest of those three. And so the way you actually develop your self-image is talking about the positive things, talking about the 10s you've shot, not the 9s, talking about the 10s when you shoot a 58 with an 8 instead of pointing out the 8 in that end, right? Happens too many times, and it's easy to fall into that trap. Also, removing yourself from situations that are negative is also very, very beneficial. Say, for example, you're training with a bunch of people and a lot of them are very negative and toxic. You've got to avoid them, or at least shut them out. It's really, really important to ignore the crap that comes out of people's mouth, especially when it's very negative. You've got to do your best to create a bubble around yourself to make sure you're not taking that negativity on. It's really, really important. And I think archery as a whole, at least in the US, really needs to make those adjustments. So I believe that it's possibly similar in other parts of the world. So doing things like visualization is a great thing. Not just guided visualization. Try to make sure you're taking that visualization to the next step. Not just visualizing 100 perfect shots, visualizing 100 perfect shots in adversity. When there's a lot of wind, when there's a lot of pressure, when the sun's in your eyes, when the sweat's in your eyes, when a bug flies up your nose, whatever you need to do, visualize the issues, the problems, the things that you could see happening that would be a problem, and then visualize overcoming that struggle. Even if you've got 5 10s in the target, visualizing shooting another 10 when the moment actually counts is super, super important. Believing in yourself is 90% of the issue at the top, I believe, and it can be solved with some easy changes in your habits, and it's definitely possible. So it's not something that happens overnight, and you really got to work on those positive affirmations, writing those things out, making them more than just a statement of I am an Olympic champion. Why? I'm an Olympic champion because I'm relentless in my training and my mental training regimens. I am an Olympic champion because I train harder than any other archer in the world. I'm an Olympic champion because I take care of my equipment and make sure that everything is absolutely perfect and pristine every single time I compete. Those are actionable affirmations that really make statements and change who you are. And writing those things on cards, like 3x5 cards, putting them inside your bow case, putting them inside your quiver, writing it on the mirror at the bathroom, putting it by the toilet, putting it on your speedometer of your car or your motorcycle or something, because every single time you see those, you read them, you believe them, and it changes your habits over time. Super important, in my opinion. Thing missing out on a lot of people's game, in my opinion. Any training tips, mental or physical, or lessons I'd be willing to share with me from my time as a professional archer? All of those things that I've done are actually in Training for Archery, the book I already referenced to you. I will include that in the link as well for you so you can check it out. It's also available on Kindle right now too. For what that requires, it's there's a lot that is required in order to get to that stage. So the training tips, I mean, really just making things as hard as possible. Doing gold game, simulation match play, just playing games with your friends. If there's other people that you're shooting with that are at a similar level, be like, okay, look, this next end, we're going to shoot all the arrows in our quiver, and the person that has the arrow furthest from the middle goes and pulls all the arrows, and the winner gets to sit back and relax, basically. So you kind of like can play games and make things harder for yourself and to benefit from those training things. But I would definitely check out that book. I'm only saying that instead of getting in depth because we're approaching 20 minutes already, and I haven't even looked at your technique, but there's a lot of good questions here, and I want to make sure I hit as many of these as possible. What are my views about equipment? Should you change or upgrade anything? Definitely upgrading to long limbs, very important. As far as anything else, as far as upgrading, for me, I love the biter plunger, but I hate the stem. It wears out arrows, and you're wearing out a $300, $400 set of arrows as opposed to a $10 stem on the actual plunger. And, if it was me, I would try, if you can, experiment with the AAE Gold plunger, or at least take the stem from an AAE Gold and put it in your biter. They do fit and they do work. Many of the top archers out there actually use that. They shoot the AAE stem with the biter plunger. Brady Ellison, at least he used to. And you will actually see forgiveness, in my opinion. It will also not wear your arrows out. And anytime you get to the point of where you're shooting with arrows that are completely worn out, there are no labels on your arrows at all, chances are those arrows are completely shot out and they're junk by now. So making sure that you have quality equipment, especially when you're competing. These might be your practice set of arrows, and I would have a set of competition arrows set aside for that purpose. It's very, very important. So with that being said, I don't see anything else as far as the equipment that you should really be changing. Stuff you can adjust as needed on your own, but otherwise, I think you're good to go there. Now we'll cover your technique and go from there. So I'll talk about things that you can work on. So I already did watch you shoot some, so I'll be able to go through it fairly quickly. But basically what I'm seeing is a few different things, and we'll just go through them quickly because it's easy. Now, look at yourself here. See your eyes? You're not looking at the target. So this is very common. A lot of people do this, and I don't know where it's coming from or why, but let's see. Let me resize this so you can actually see. So Look at your eyes. So you are right now checking your hook and grip, which is good. You have to do that down on your bow, right? So you've got to check your equipment. But then as you're lifting the bow, you are looking, right, down here. And now you're already starting to lift the bow, but you're still looking down here. Still looking down here. Now you're looking at the target. That's way too late to look at the target. You need to grab the string, check everything, stop, look at the target, then lift your bow. Archery is a visual sport. We use our eyes to see the target. You can't let your subconscious brain take over in aiming unless you're staring at the object for a good long period of time. You want to use your hand-eye coordination to actually rely on the actual technique of the shot itself and allow the body to make those micro corrections to make the arrows land in the middle. And if you're not looking at the target before you raise the bow, you're already going past the target sometimes and missing the acquirement of the actual target, and you're not using your subconscious brain to aim at all. And it's just impossible to shoot very high scores. So it's very awkward in the beginning to make this change, to look at the target first and then lift the bow, but it's very, very important. Excuse me. Next is to try to work on controlling your head. You've got a lot of head movement going on. You'll see here your head's kind of down and neutral, but now as you're coming up into anchor, you're going to see your head lift up. See how it's lifting up as you're anchoring into your face? And then also from this view, you'll see the head moving more. So you're still not looking at the target. Now you're looking at the target. And then as you're drawing the bow back, see, watch how much your head is going to pick up and change. And so this head movement is also not going to benefit you. Trying to keep the head as still as possible is important because you're not going to notice when your head is slightly off in different amounts if you're moving the head throughout the entire shot. If you are, it's going to change not just your anchor position, the string location on your face, therefore your string alignment, but also the actual draw length. And this is something that I saw in this video here watching you shooting, was some shots took a little bit longer for your timing, and then some were extremely, extremely quick and you barely even touched your face when you were anchoring by the time they let go. So that one was another slow one. Here's one that's slower as well, but some of them were very, very fast. Right? And so I like fast. I like quick timing. That's stuff that I really am for. But consistency is important, and that you could see a difference in timing there. And that's because your head's probably moving, in my opinion, therefore changing your draw length. So really trying to control your head. The first point that you need to do in order to control your head is to control your eyes. You're still looking down at the bow before you even lift, and that's going to cause the head to move on its own naturally. From there is to try to work on maintaining a little bit more tension through follow through. You do have a tendency to collapse a little bit on all the shots. It's pretty consistent, but I definitely see a bit of a collapse just about every single shot, and you'll see it here in a second. Come on, computer. So you're here at full draw, expanding, expanding. See how the elbow looks to me like it's moving forward and the hand is moving away from the face before the string is off of your fingers, right? And then the shot breaks and the hand comes away from the face because of that pressure that was being lost. Let's see, from this angle, maybe you'll be able to see it a little easier. Yep, this is a good one. So we're here at full draw. See that movement forward? Not only is this arm moving this way, the bow is moving this way, indicating a collapse. You've lost all the tension that you have at full draw when the clicker clicks. So right here, when you go to let go, elbow moves away from the back, going towards the hand side of the bow, towards this side. And then if you watch the stabilizer, you're at full draw. See how the bow moves this way, and now the bow's going to jump out to the target, collapse, and then a follow through. The follow through is kind of fake. It's not real because you're losing that tension. So that tension really needs to be maintained backwards and around strongly through finish to follow through. Make sure you're not ending the shot or ending the tension when the clicker clicks or when you let it go. You need to end the shot when the arrow gets to about 30 meters. That means pull, 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 click, pull, 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 pull. 30 meters, I've hit the range of motion, I've stopped my shot. Not pull, 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 click, follow through. The follow through is pulling all the way to follow through. Release is not a thing. The clicker clicking is not a thing. You come to full draw and then you expand to follow through, not expand to click, release, and then follow through, if that makes sense. I think a lot of the other stuff that's going on as far as the movement of the body and things like that will stop with better focus on the target of your eyes. I think that's really, really important. And also the bow dropping a fair amount like this is because of the bow being pretty heavy, but also a lot of the tension that you had here coming around and going forward when you're in at full draw is being lost, and you're kind of relaxing into follow through instead of maintaining that power through follow through. You have to maintain 100% of your power when you are at full draw. That power needs to be divided coming around and behind you or straight back, doesn't really matter, and towards the target. And those things need to be balanced, like I said, and they have to continue until you finish the shot, which is maintaining your follow through, the arrow getting to about 30 meters, not when you let it go. So you don't relax to follow through, continue the power to follow through. I think those things will really help you out a lot. And I, can definitely appreciate the amount of effort that you've put in. I can see that you've shot a lot of shots because you're quite strong. You're shooting a lot of shots here. You're very quick, relatively consistent in many different of the aspects of the shot itself, even consistent in the amount that you are losing the power or collapsing when you go to follow through. It's very consistent, and it's impressive that you can shoot the scores that you do doing that consistently. But it really will make a huge difference, and it'll probably bring you up to the next level into that 340, 350 range. Maybe not 350, only a few people in the world get there. I've gotten there a couple times in practice, and it's just magical when it happens. But to get consistently into the 340s, you've got to be on top of your game for everything, and that includes maintaining your power through follow through, getting your eyes focused on the target correctly, letting the subconscious brain actually be developed by the conscious effort of the amount of arrows that you shoot, and it all will fall into place if you do your job and really put in the effort and the time. So hopefully this helps, and thanks again for submitting a video coaching review. And then now that we've covered many of the questions, maybe next time if you do submit another one, we can cover more of your technique. But I think this is a good start, and giving you those couple things to work on are the most important things, and it'll make a big, big difference. So good luck, and thank you again as well for letting me use this as content on my channel. I appreciate it.